Guys, welcome back for another episode of my podcast with today's guest, Sohin Shah, who is the co-founder of a company called InstaLend out in the US. I have been told multiple times I have to let my guest speak as quick as possible. So, Sohin, I'm going to hand over my introduction to you, your introduction. So you tell us who you are, what do you do, and why
Yeah,
do you
sure.
do it?
Pleasure to be here, Shane. My name's Sohin Shah for everyone that doesn't know me. I'm the co founder of InstaLend Corporation. What we do is we are private lenders for residential real estate in the United States. We make loans nationwide against investment properties. So if you're an investor looking to buy real estate in the United States, you'd probably want to come to us to take a loan because you wouldn't get one from the bank. It's just not an asset type they lend to. Yeah,
Wow. How much? What's the kind of volume of loans you guys are
oh,
doing annually?
close to 100 million.
Wow. And what got you into
Uh,
lending?
just having seen the demand for capital here, because we tried flipping a few homes ourselves between myself and my business partner, and we realized that when it
Mm,
comes to trying to borrow money for this purpose, banks shy away from making loans to you because they do not lend on investment
of
properties. It's
course.
higher risk as opposed to lending to someone that wants
Okay.
to live in the property themselves. And so we identified this niche and decided to go after it and start Instaland.
So how long ago did you
Instaland was
start it?
conceived in 2015. It's been 8 years now. Yeah,
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's
yeah.
quite a journey. And how did you guys manage through COVID?
COVID was actually great for us. I think the first 2 or 3 months were a little nerve wracking for us, but I think we saw the business take off post the first couple of months because just housing in the United States in general had done so well then, so we benefited from that right along.
Wow, that's really cool. So the question a lot of people ask is why? So above the opportunity and the gaps in the market,
Right.
those are all great for business opportunities. But for yourself, I got into being a business owner because I hated having authority telling me what to do. I hated following a vision that I didn't believe in. Um, and I didn't enjoy being part of something where I wasn't in control. So for yourself, at what point did you step into entrepreneurship, and why did you, if
Yeah,
that was the
Shane, great
case?
question. So you've already, answered some of the reasonings why, I felt the need as well to be an entrepreneur. But to be honest with you, since I
Mm,
graduated, I have never had a professional job. I've tried different ventures or different products and apps, right? And tried to learn from any failures I might
mm,
have had, try and fail forward. The whole idea has been, you can only be wrong so many times. As long as, you're willing to learn from why something didn't work. I think I was blessed in the sense that I never had any pressure from my family or friends in terms of trying to prove myself or try and match, the society standards, or how someone would evaluate their personal life based on the kind of income they're making, the kind of lifestyle they have. So it was just,
mm.
try and enjoy what you're doing. There were so many different problems I could see, either in products I was using or services which were missing. And so I tried my hand at quite a few of those, but eventually realized that I was either not thinking about the economics or distribution or technology. So there was some component missing in every attempt I made. And so eventually it all came together in the form of Instalent for me.
Wow, so that's very interesting because I could tell obviously we both are brown, so
Yeah,
we're both Indian, and coming
yeah,
from our culture, you and I know that parents and getting a job is always the number one priority. So my dad is a Goldman Sachs VP. He was part of the investment banking forum back in the 90s. He was with Goldman's when they
wow.
IPO'd. So we came to the US in '99 and had a fantastic life, a fantastic upbringing. We live in Bergen County, so I don't know how far you are
Not too
from Bergen
far.
County.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
familiar
yeah,
with it?
yeah.
Paramus,
20 minutes away from
Franklin
me.
Lake,
I live in Jersey
Oakland, all of
City.
that. Okay. Okay, so my dad's always in Jersey City too,
Mhm.
Secaucus, Hoboken, all of it. So I'm very familiar with it too. And even as I went through business and I went through the peaks and then the troughs and then the peaks and then the troughs, it was always, hey, do you like why don't you get a job too to kind of back everything up? And I was just like, no, I'm following the dream. So how? First question: are you a first generation in the US, or was it your parents came to the US and then had you there, or did you migrate from
Now, I'm a
India to
first
the US
generation. I
as
came to the
like your
US for my
parents?
master's in financial engineering, went to
Mm-hmm.
NYU and graduated there. Um, and then, my challenge really was I did not know how to sell myself, to be honest. When it came to on campus jobs, I did have a resume, but it was hard for me to try and make a sales pitch and say, hey, listen, you need to hire me because I can turn your company around. That just wasn't something I could do very well. For me, it was more like, give me a problem
Mm-hmm.
statement, leave me alone. Let me try and figure out what I can do. I won't have an answer for you right away, but you know, the saying goes, if you have 1 hour to save the world, you're probably spending 95 minutes thinking about the solution and 5 minutes executing the solution, right? Or if you have to chop a tree, you're spending 55 minutes sharpening the axe and maybe 5 minutes with the blow.
Mm,
Yeah.
chopping. I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that kind of thinking because a lot of people go gung ho and just face
Right.
first into everything. Where did you learn about
I
planning
didn't.
then?
I was just
Planning and
none of it. Just
preparation.
tried, and I think I made. Sorry for my language, but I made an ass out of myself with the first few attempts. Right, I had no clue what I was doing, but I think people were gracious enough to give
Mm,
me an opportunity. I feel blessed. It was in the United States, which many say is the land for entrepreneurship, and I do somewhere agree with that. I think
it
folks
is.
were very, very
I
gracious
agree.
with feedback, which wasn't judgmental in any way. It was just in the sense of trying to help me and say, hey, look, if you tried A, B, and C, your product could probably work. Why don't you do this? And then I think it's up to the individual, if you want to take the feedback positively and try and implement changes, that's great. If you think, hey, you know what, I think I know better than you, then that could possibly be true, but it could be a steeper learning curve for you.
Wait, that's incredible. It's incredible how you came to think about it. So, what would you say then was the first kind of stepping stone of success? So, was it prior to starting InstaLend? You said you started a few ventures. Were you successful in one of those ventures and then went on and did another successful and then started InstaLend? Or was InstaLend the milestone that kind of catapulted
No,
everything
I
from
had
the
a few
start?
ventures before that. None of them really successful. I think the stepping stone for me really was just when I came on an H-1B visa, right? So um, I had 90 days to try and
Mm-hmm.
either make it or go back to India. I think that was the best
Wow.
best situation to be in, because when you have a timeline like that, you're not messing around. um, yeah.
It's true.
And the one thing I
It's
learned
true.
is don't take lawyers at
It's
face
true.
value. There's always a way to make things happen. You have to, lawyers are in the business of reading out the rule book to you, which could be intimidating to you. But I think,
Mm-hmm.
if you're an entrepreneur, you have to try and ask them the right questions to figure out how things can happen, right? And I think that was my biggest takeaway in the first few years, because everything you attempt has legal jargon around it on why you shouldn't do something.
Of course, of course. So have you heard of Parkinson's
uh,
law?
I'm sorry, no. Educate me.
So Parkinson's law is exactly what you've said in about the 90-day period. So if you give somebody 10 minutes to do something, they typically will get it done in 10 minutes. If you give somebody 10 weeks to do something, they'll do it in the last 10 minutes of that 10 weeks.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
And it's typically how things work. So I always used to say, right? So this is how I kind of got my things done in my business, and then we'll move on to the second segment. I always used to tell anything I wanted to my team done. I used to say, "We're gonna do this. I want it done today," and they would go nuts. it's like it's like you chuck something in in a pool, and just
That's so
everybody
true.
jumps out. And it came to a point after a while, after 1 or 2 weeks, where I started to see
Hmm.
results start to come in. And they were like, Shane, this is too much pressure. And I said, so why don't you tell me I need another few days? And they said, well, you said you need it done today. I said, well, it's your job to tell me
Hmm.
you need a few more days Because if I say I want it this way and you believe it should be done this way, then we have
Right.
a discussion and we meet in the middle and then you get it done. And they were like, oh, I wish I knew that before. So on that piece, learning something new every day. But
Yeah.
Parkinson's law,
Yeah.
just like you said, I think is probably the reason why you're able to do that. Because anybody who's given a timeline like you're going to be evicted in 30 days if you don't move, if you don't pay your rent, they will
There you
find a way to
go.
pay the rent. Right. So when you started InstaLend, did you start InstaLend with clients, with customers from your network, or was it a
It's a
blank
blank
canvas?
canvas, but I think what helped me was
Wow.
uh, just the fact that while I was building the product, I was having conversations with potential customers. And don't forget, I had attempted, investing in real estate myself, so I knew who to try and reach out to. Right, folks
Hmm.
like myself, I knew where they hang out, what kind of groups to target online to try and get their attention.
Hmm. And that's a very important point you just said right there. In some of our ideal customer profiling exercises, one of the questions out of 45 questions that we go through is where do your ICPs sit? What
Mhm.
groups do they hang out in? What communities do they hang out in? And that's not something just some normal average Joe can figure out. Where did you figure out how to locate the right types of customers and associate them with specific communities, groups, bars, lounges in New York? Like, how did you
Joe,
figure that
I was
out?
the customer, to be honest with you, because I went to the pain point myself. I knew exactly what someone like me would want. I knew exactly, where they would be hanging out per se. But it was essentially because our business is online. I think it was the language that we use in terms of introducing ourselves to the world, saying, "Hey, we are your non-bank lenders." Right? If you're looking to get a loan against an investment property, there's this shadow economy of a lot of private lenders you've never heard about. And we're trying to institutionalize that space. We're
Mm-hmm.
trying to streamline the space. So come to us, if you want a loan, we'll make sure we close quick. That was the biggest pain point I felt. Closings, even if you find a lender, could take 90 days and you could lose your investment property in that time. So just having lived through the pain point myself, I think the messaging was somewhere
Mm-hmm.
a little more easier for us, and that helped us get eyeballs from the folks that end up turning into our customers.
That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So, what walk me through a typical client experience? So, I come to you, Sohan. I've got $1 million property out. Is it only New York or is it
It's nationwide,
anywhere in the
the
US?
US.
Nationwide. All right. So let's say I want to buy my friend just went through this. He just closed on his house for 725,000. He had to pay 125,000 above market
Wow.
price. He was in an auction. Yep, he was in an auction for it. His mortgage is said is like $5,000. I was just like, wow, that's insane. And he said it was an absolute nightmare. We went through friends, family, distant connections, and he said it was a 2 years. 2 years. That's an incredible amount of time to lose. So if I come to you and say I want a $1 million house in Franklin Lakes, New Jersey, bank said no. Where then? How does that conversation kind of how does that conversation take place with
Absolutely. So
you?
it doesn't matter if the bank said yes or no. Just because you might have been rejected by another form of capital provider has no implication on your loan status with us. What we'd look for is making sure you have decent credit, which is 620 or higher in the United States. Trying to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that you've not had any bankruptcy proceedings against you in the last 4 years, because these are two disqualifying factors for us.
Mm-hmm.
As long as this checks out for us, what we'd encourage you to do is create an LLC or a corporation, unless you already have one, to buy the property, because we need you to hold the property under the name of an entity. Usually, our clients know they have to get this done, so they have the paperwork ready. Otherwise, as you know, in the United States, you can get one done
Mm-hmm.
in 3 or 5 days. Use legal Zoom.
Yeah, I think they call it an
Yeah.
SPV, right?
And so once you have an entity, yeah,
Special
just
purpose vehicle. Yeah.
make sure the purchase contract for your property is in the name of that LLC or the corporation as the buyer. We then order an appraisal, which takes about
Mm-hmm.
7 days to come back. Once we have the appraisal, we can
Mm-hmm.
close on your loan. So it takes about 14 days start through finish.
Wow. So how much? So how much? What is the value of assets under management for
Uh,
InstaLend right now, or is it just specifically
it's just
loans?
loans, yeah.
And you said in the time that you started, so from 2015 to now, over 100 million in
That's
loans
annually.
approved
Yeah,
annually. So how much in in the past
yeah.
nine
It's
years?
close to a billion now that we've originated.
That's the exciting point. All right, so now we're on to the next section. That's the next section. We always want to close on one and open up another. So if you were to share one major key milestone, um, and share one strategy that kind of contributed to your success outside of what we've discussed,
I
what would
think
you
it's the
say that
day
would
we
be?
decided to bootstrap our company. Initially, when we started the company, we were focused on raising capital, like any tech venture. I think the day we
Mm-hmm.
decided to not have any outside money was the day we regained focus for the business. Because as an entrepreneur, your biggest currency is your time. And if your time is divided, A, in
Mm-hmm.
building a product, managing the team, firefighting all day, and B, managing shareholders or trying to raise capital, I think you're being pulled in too many directions, and that can always be a distraction. And so the day we decided to
Of
bootstrap is
course.
when we really started looking at um, the health of the business with a closer lens. Because when you're raising money, you're probably buying yourself time, right? But time,
Of course.
time is something that of course, is limited for an entrepreneur. But you don't want to live on borrowed time, right? So that's when we
Of
started
course.
looking at per unit economics very closely, making sure we were profitable on every
Mm-hmm.
transaction we did, and ensuring that our profit margins increased if this business had to scale, had to be able to sustain the costs required to grow and reinvest in the business. I think that was the best decision we took.
So if somebody wanted to start their own InstaLend, walk us through what they would have to, like, let's say three steps of what they have to be
To
looking out
start
for.
InstaLand,
Something like that. So let's say they wanted to start their own kind of loan entity. They wanted to provide loans as much as you don't want competition in the industry, but it will happen irrespective. What kind of things should they be looking
I
at
think they
doing?
need to get screwed over a lot, to be honest, because we've been screwed over a lot. When you're making a loan, you're giving money to people, and as you know, the easiest thing for someone to do is take
Yep.
money, right? The hard thing is for us to get that
Wow.
money back. So we've gone through so many failures in the business, so many loans that have not worked out for us. But what's been important is to make sure that these are not knockout punches for us. And so I think,
And
yeah,
what?
yeah,
Go
that's,
on.
I
So
think,
finish that
the
part.
most important thing, being able to survive those learning curves and then say, right, I know what to look for on the next loan and make sure I'm not,
And why didn't they work? So why didn't those loans work?
because I
Do you
think,
think the ones that were
yeah, I think the
failures?
crook is always one step ahead of the individual that's trying to set the rules. And so any permutation you come up with, any checks and balances you come up with, a hacker or someone who wants to game the system is going to try and find a way around it. So there's a new learning curve you have to go through. And so I'm not saying our preparation was less. I'm just
Wow.
saying, there were so many different ways someone could try and outsmart us, or any lender for that purpose.
Of course, of course. And look, it does happen every day. Um, it's a huge industry in itself to scam people. I'll tell you, I was literally walking back just now, okay, and I was on my phone. I've never had this happen to me before. A scooter came on the side of me and tried
See,
to grab my phone, and I grabbed his hand, and he pushed the accelerator, started driving away. I ran over him. I make sure you get your cardio in for these situations, but look at that, very very
yeah,
simple scam right there. I'm sure he knew and watched how long I was on my phone for, looking down, and I could not believe it that somebody literally tried to grab my phone right while I was walking. It's unbelievable. So with InstaLend, I'm curious to know: is there a unique technology that allows you to loan money faster? Is there an infrastructure that's different? Do they log into something? What is unique about just a loan provider versus
Great question.
InstaLend?
So I have my undergraduate graduate was in computer science, and my master's was in financial engineering. Due
Hmm.
to the dual engineering degree, I was able to build out the tech for our business along with my co-founder, who also happens to be my brother. So we've
Oh
built a
wow, okay.
website with the intention of streamlining the entire business ecosystem and taking it online. All our customers get a login for them to look at the status of their loan, request a loan payoff, maybe request draws, which is a component of the loan life cycle. And this has helped save us a lot of man hours, and also the need to hire more people has been eliminated.
Wow. So, okay, that's an interesting point. The reduction of man hours with the use of technology is literally the next 10 years of
Yeah.
what we're going into. So, how does that technology streamline that in a very short
Um,
sentence?
I would say it automates a lot of the work that we have to do in terms of review. While it does not
Okay.
eliminate the need for human review, because that's always needed. I think it dumbs it
Hmm.
down into just metrics which we have to analyze then, right? And I think that's
Of
a
course, of
game
course.
changer.
Such as?
For example, like I said, your credit score, right? Today, if you give me the authorization to run your credit score, we'll get a report back, which initially would take us about 30 minutes to read through because it's a very lengthy report. But now, we have
Hmm.
certain identifiers on the report, which will show us exactly how many payments you were late on, why you were late for those, any outstanding charges against your name, on your background, any liens and judgments against your name, if you've been foreclosed upon, any of the city, state, or government taxes that you might be falling behind on, what the dollar amounts are, and then maybe try and get an explanation on the same from you. So our system sends you an automated email requesting a narrative for why we've seen all of this. Trying to do just this one part of the business could take us
Wow.
a couple hours in the past, which now has been eliminated. Secondly, on the property, right, once we get the appraisal, our system reads through the report and computes certain risk metrics like the loan to value, the loan to cost, days on market for the property to be sold in a particular neighborhood. All this is now again automated, so we don't have to read through the report the way we did before. And all I have to focus on then is the metrics that come and pop up on our screen, and try and analyze if it's on par with the base guidelines we have, or if it's subpar.
Wow. That's incredible. And are you using any types of AI in the process?
Not per se. I think everything we've done has been built in house,
Hmm.
but I think, yeah.
Anything unique about the technology, such as like what is there anything specific and unique about the ability to read through those types of documents so fast? What allows it to do that? Is there hundreds of APIs? Are you using tons of software? What allows
I
that to
think
kind
it's
of
mostly
happen?
based on the data that we have from the thousands of loans that we've done. We now know what kind of data metrics are viable and which ones what values for certain metrics would not make it for us. Right. So I think having this repository of data, which we've been blessed to have, has been the reason why the tech works so well. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So, how do you feel AI? Two questions, two-part question. How do you feel AI is shaping our industry today? That's one question, and then I'd love you to follow up on that question with how can AI reshape or improve your business?
Yeah, look, I think AI has a huge way to go. I think uh, it's more of a I think it helps get responses based on what it's programmed to understand, but I don't think it's intelligent yet. I
Hmm.
think there's a long way to go. I
Hmm.
would say the system is
Yep.
the intelligence in it comes in when it can try and identify and catch risk scenarios which you may not have programmed it to consider. Right? I think that's when it's intelligent. As of today, it's as intelligent as we are, and what we can help it understand or pre-program it with having the capabilities to do. So I think there's still a long way to go. I definitely think it eliminates a lot of man hours, which is the way we and some other
Oh my
lenders
God.
use these tools today. But I think we still have a good 5 to 10 years till we see some revolutionary changes.
I'll give you an example of how AI has reshaped my business. So typically, one of the biggest problems of our business, which is outsourced fractional
Mhm,
sales services, was contract law,
mhm.
employment contract law, just consultant contract law. And what I've now found is any contract I get, I upload the contract into GPT and I say, give me the risks, show me where I'm exposed. And now I get a full report of where I am exposed, what those risks are. And then I tell it, give me the questions that I need to ask my buyer. And I send that to the buyer and say, you need to
Nice.
answer this now. Why did you put this in? Why did you put this in?
That's
Why did you?
incredible.
Where is my money here? And that is, again, that's another unique way to look
And
at it.
you'd probably have to pay hundreds of
Another
dollars to a
way,
lawyer, in a different scenario. Yeah.
my God, I had a lawyer on, it wasn't that expensive, but for a small business, £1,500 a month to pay a legal counsel just to review contracts, make sure payment terms were aligned, make sure we weren't exposed. And now for $25 a month, GPT does it for
Incredible.
free. Again, I'm saving £1,475 a month just for that. And again, that's where I believe it will be important. So let's use a scenario where currently you're able to get through or process credit reports, risks within that report, questions through your own internal technology right now. If you were to shine a light and be ambitious on the use of AI with the same process, how much faster or what is possible with the use of AI on top of your existing
Great
process?
question. I think it'd be instant with AI. And I think, we'd have a much, I think, more detailed insight into, the credit journey of any individual I'm making a loan to, right? So a credit report is a point in time document. I think with AI, you could have a
Mm.
narrative around, what the credit profile was before, how it got where it did, what were the different charges which affected their credit profile. And then we could analyze and see, if it was
Oh
like in a
wow.
lot of cases, you see hospital bills which affect someone's credit, or maybe one missed payment for $25 or so, and it drops their score. So
34,000 so in $34,000 on a hospital visit for, I think it was sciatica. My sister had sciatica, which is like a
Mhm.
pinched nerve in the back. thirty-four
Yeah.
thousand dollar bill because 1 month she didn't have insurance.
Oh man. Yeah.
So just on those things and finding out and being able to
Yeah.
identify those things, I wonder how much you can identify with AI. It's going to be interesting if you were to take it a step further. Let's say in 10 years you have found a way to implement AI in your business, the holy grail of InstaLend. Is there an exit involved, or is it a lifetime
Uh,
business?
yeah, I think we're
First
open to
question.
both models.
Okay. And in that 10 years, and then I'll let you finish that piece. In that 10 years, where do you see InstaLend as, or what is the ideal holy grail, the ultimate picture? InstaLend is providing instant loans. Are we talking minutes or hours or
Um,
days
No, I
with
think,
AI?
it. I'm not so sure it would need to be a lot more faster than it is right now. But I think what would happen is we'd probably have complementary services we'd be offering, right? So we're a lender today, but there's so many other services a lender can provide, which any client may need, either before closing a loan or after closing a loan, right? So hopefully we can be
Mm-hmm,
a full service shop for anyone that wants anything finance related or real estate related, and hopefully that's where we can add more value.
mm-hmm. Amazing. And is there anything that uses AI in your business today?
uh, I think we're still in the early stages there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a look. Again, it just shows how lean and how robust the company is with the existing platform and the existing infrastructure. I don't think you need anything else above that. Well, what would you say then your insights and predictions? So to the
Mhm.
lending industry, I see where you're going to have the most strength. What do you see um, in terms of predictions for this industry this
This
year?
year, I think it's going to get better, much better this
Yeah,
year.
this year.
I think interest rates are going to start coming down in a couple months. So we've seen the industry be a little stagnant the last couple months, but I think we have a huge growth runway in front of us. So it's going to be a great ride.
Amazing, amazing. And for yourself, then, just as we come to a close, who are the companies, whether they're complementary to you or competitive, or just you've got your eyes set on them, whether it's in the lending industry or outside of it, who have you got your eyes on? For our audiences, typically startups, business owners, entrepreneurs. Also, you've got an element of middle management and people who are trying to progress their careers. What companies should we be looking out for this year? Game changing companies in this space.
Not sure about companies, but there's an individual I have been reading up a lot on. His thoughts have really shaped my thinking of late. David Deutsch, he's written a book, The
Mm-hmm.
Beginning of Infinity. That book has changed my life, and uh, I just try and read up on what he's written over and over again, and each time it blows my mind. I think ever since I've gotten exposure to some of his writings, I have looked away from individuals or companies per se, um, outside of the content I've read that he's come up with, and I think it shaped my mindset
Mm.
in a very different way. So that's something I would definitely encourage everyone to try and consider reading.
Highlight one piece of the book as in a key takeaway learning, and then an immediate benefit that you've got as a result.
I think questioning everything and dumbing it down to the essential truth, right? And so you'd be surprised at how many assumptions we have in our day-to-day lives and in every action we take. But if you question your
Mm-hmm.
actions and try and get to the source of truth, you'll realize that um, you know your performance could be better, your thinking could be sharper, and when you try and extract the same mindset into a program, that's how you get artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence is programmed based on certain conditions that you write. And so if those conditions are accurate
Mm-hmm.
or the logic holds true, the result or the output that you get is accurate. And so dumbing every action, every decision you take down to its absolute truth is probably the best way to move forward, because that's when you'll take the best version of that decision, and you'll probably be able to I think see things a lot more clearer than they are to you today.
And in one word, what would you say the outcome of that book delivers?
uh, Knowledge,
More. Give me
uh,
another one.
science, truth.
One more. It's always good to push the thinking because I know when somebody's able to
Yeah.
answer it instantly, ask them the second time, and that's when the eyes go up. So Sohan, we're approaching the top of the hour. What would you say you are doing? So me, it's
Hmm.
6:11 in Morocco right now. It's the 30th of January. In 10 years from now, it's 3034. I plan to be on a luxury yacht, hopefully, in the middle of the ocean, doing more podcast interviews, maybe. What about you? What are you doing on January 30th, 2034?
Hopefully, sitting with my daughter, going through uh, s- some of the moments that she cherished in her day or did not, and just having a meaningful conversation.
Mhm. I'll tell you what, mate. I'm exactly the same. I've got a 2-year-old daughter right now, and everything I do is for her. Absolutely, I'm not with the mother anymore. That's one of the things I shine a light on in this is adversity, resilience, courage, confidence, and the ability to, no matter what, like nobody's
Mhm.
life is perfect. We all go through ups and downs, and if you have the ability to carry on going through when times get tough, That's the message I'm looking to drive home, as well as education and showing that people from every single walk of life have achieved such amazing things, and it's like those diamonds in the rough. Without knowing you, who would have known Sohin Shah in Morocco, in the UK, other than the actual existing network, has built $1 billion lending firm that can typically lend profiles money in days. That in itself is just incredible. So, where can people find you if they want to learn more, if they want to get a loan? How do they find more about Sohin and how to actually have a
Yeah, my
conversation with
LinkedIn's
you?
great. My Twitter is great as well, but I'm very active on LinkedIn. Um, and
Okay.
My email address as well is sohin.shah@instaland.com. Anyone can reach out to me. On a side note, I make a lot of angel investments, close to 180 till date. So if anyone's looking to start or grow a company, I'd be very interested in talking to them. More importantly, if someone is looking to restructure, I'd love to speak to them because I think that really excites me in terms of understanding why they want to restructure and what opportunity they found, which might drive the need for a restructure.
In terms of business or property
Both.
portfolio
Property, I think, is
for the
easier for
restructure?
them to manage because it's pretty
Yeah.
streamlined today. But I think in terms of business operations, having been an entrepreneur myself, having gone through some of these learning curves, um, I know that every time there was an aha moment which required some change in mindset, not really a pivot, but just a change in mindset
Hmm.
or vision. I would have loved to speak to someone and say, hey, here's what we didn't do before and we should have considered now. And if that meant some capital to try and embark on that journey, I think if I was able to speak to an entrepreneur who was seeking that, it'd be great.
Man, that's incredible. So, what kind of ranges of investment are you putting forward? What would you say for somebody to consider if they're sitting here watching and they say, "Holy shit, I need to call Sohin"? What is the range of investment you typically look
I
at?
usually get involved with earlier stage companies. They have maybe a prototype or just a product which they're getting to market. But honestly, it's all over the space. I've
Hmm.
also invested in pre-IPO companies, so there's really no range as such. It's just about uh, the entrepreneur and what they're working on.
Wow, that's uh, unbelievable. Again, this is why I do this because without having a podcast or a platform to kind of just speak to people wherever, whenever about anything, with obviously an agenda, you don't get this from
Yeah.
just doing normal stuff. Absolutely not. So, Sohin, I sincerely thank you and appreciate your time today. Anybody out there listening, go reach out to Sohin. He's on LinkedIn. He said he's on Twitter.
It's
What's your
Sohin
Twitter
Shah
handle?
one, the number one.
Okay. So we will have all of Sohin's details in the description below. All of the links to contact him, we'll have those based on his shares. And if you guys like this, like, share, subscribe, share it with your family, friends, uncles, aunts, sisters, cousins, whatever. And hopefully they can get the same value too. So, Sohin, until next time, thank you again. Just wait on here while I stop it.
Yeah,
Any
thanks
last
for having
words?
me, Shane. Enjoy the good weather in Morocco.
You enjoy it too, and bye bye.
Amen. Bye.